This week on Intraverse Uncharted, grab a case of that ice-cold beer, grab a rod, grab a reel, and make your way down to the lake. This one is about Dad, because this weekend is Father's Day. Alright. Welcome back to Intraverse Uncharted, the show that aims to remove the gravity from your world and send you on a journey through the stars. As always, my name is John, and I will be your guide into the Intraverse today. Happy Wednesday! Look at that, we're on time, everybody. Whew! It's a miracle. It's a stretch. I'm surprised it happened. I start to doubt whether or not I'm going to get these things pumped out on time. I've obviously committed to doing one podcast a week. That's 52 weeks a year. So 52 episodes. Just the math adds up, and it's tough a lot of times to pump out the episodes. But some episodes, like this specific episode, I've had planned kind of since day one. So I have like my Google Calendar, and I open that up, and I put on, on that calendar every episode that I want to do, and the theme to that episode or whatever. And if I don't know, I leave a blank. So this one is one that from day one I had on the calendar, and I was raring and ready to go to get this one going and get this one done. I think it's going to be a really rock solid episode, if you will. But before we get into the episode, as always, the housekeeping. This is an amateur podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you could tell, but it is. Amateur podcast. I am not a professional. I have not been on talk television ever. So, amateur podcast, amateur office, amateur household, all sorts of amateur behavior. With that being said, I'm doing laundry right now, so you might hear the washer and the dryer. Weather's been pretty decent, but you might hear a crack of thunder. It's a cloudy day. We've gotten rain like every day for the last month. So Colorado is swimming in some spots. Apparently, we're now a coastal state. Who would have known? So you just might hear some side stuff. My kid's obviously always wandering around. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm by myself, except for with the kiddo. So you might hear him. You might not hear him. I'll be sure to point it out if I think you do. Where can you find more Intraverse Uncharted content? TikTok, at Intraverse_Uncharted. Instagram at Intraverse_Uncharted13, and Facebook at Intraverse Uncharted. TikTok, goofy, has a lot of random stuff that I do throughout the day, just me making TikToks, trying to fill some time. Instagram and Facebook, those are updates for episodes that are coming up, or when episodes are going to post, or what those episodes are going to be about. Check out those for that kind of information. But they're all there. And then if you haven't yet, please stop, take a second, and subscribe to this YouTube channel, Intraverse Uncharted. Hit that bell button so that whenever I decide it's the right time to talk into this microphone, just like this, you, my adoring viewers, who sit there every week and listen to me talk about absolute nonsense, can know when I'm going to talk about absolute nonsense. Thank you. Now back to the program. Alright, so now we're through the housekeeping, the stuff we always kind of just gotta mull over, get out of the way. And we're gonna head to the pre-flight check portion of this show. We're moving right along. A lot of times I feel like I draw this kind of stuff out. But before we get to pre-flight, I haven't done it yet, before we get to the pre-flight checks. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Woo! Been a minute since I've been able to say Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Like I said, sometimes these are hit or miss on when I can get them out, but I got it out on time this week. Damn right. Time to keep it going. And, like I said, you're halfway through the week. If it's been a tough week, stiff drinks may be in order. If it's been an easy week, pour yourself a stiff drink anyway. You earned it. You deserve it. You got up this morning, you went to work. If you didn't go to work this morning, been there. It's all good. Pour yourself a stiff drink And I hope that you have a great rest of your week. And I hope you have a good holiday weekend. And we're going to talk about that holiday today on this episode of Intraverse Uncharted. Now we can hit them pre-flight checks. Number 1. The Nuggets have won the 2023 NBA championship. I don't want to say I called it. I was hesitant to call it. I feel like I jinx things a lot of times. I was hesitant, but they did it. They pulled it off. They won it. Jokic gets that MVP. Well deserved. Looked rocky there in the first part of the game for sure. Like the Nuggets had that nice lead. Then the Heat stormed on back and dominated. Nuggets were down 12 going into the half. And we came back. We stomped them. And here we are. I say we. I keep saying we. I'm not a diehard Nuggets fan. Like, I'm a Nuggets fan kind of by association. We live in Colorado. It's hard to not like some of the teams. I don't like the Broncos. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. It's hard to not appreciate some of the teams. You know, I am an Avs fan. Baseball-wise, I'm a Yankees fan. But I appreciate the Rockies, even though they can't win ever. And then the Nuggets, I don't mind the Nuggets. I like watching them play, and I definitely enjoyed this season watching everything kind of come together for the team and for the city. I'm a Bulls fan, so that's pretty generally the route I go basketball-wise. But congrats to our Denver Nuggets, the home team around here, and good luck next year. Hopefully you guys can keep it going. I heard Coach Malone say something about wanting to get another one, so hopefully they can go ahead and get another one. But I guess only time will tell. Number 2. Excuse me. It has been 30 years since the release of Jurassic Park. Isn't that crazy? I don't feel like it's been that long. I don't know. I also wasn't born when the first Jurassic Park came out, just in case that dates any of the audience members. I wasn't born when Jurassic Park came out. Jurassic Park came out June 11th, 1993, and I wasn't born until October of 95. So, I wasn't around for the first one. I'm pretty sure I saw the third one in theaters, and I had like one of those, I was still a little kid at the time. I had like one of those little kid big jigsaw puzzles of a Spinosaurus back in the day. Yeah, love Jurassic Park. I've seen all 3 Jurassic World movies in theaters. All of them are great. I feel like they all kind of line up. I was just having a conversation with one of my friends about this the other day. Jurassic Park and Jurassic World are essentially the same thing. Open a theme park goes drastically awry. There you go. Dinosaurs kind of roaming free. 2, Lost World, the dinosaurs ended up in San Diego. In the Fallen Kingdom, I think it was, dinosaurs make it to the mainland again. And then in the third movie, they have to go, Jurassic Park 3, they had to go and save the kid from the island. In Dominion, they had to rescue the girl. She's a clone. Spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen. I'm sorry. Where have you been if you haven't seen? Okay. But all of them kind of run the same gambit. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They still make millions of dollars on those movies. So, awesome. Jurassic Park, 30 years. I'm pretty sure tomorrow me and that exact buddy are going to be binging every Jurassic Park movie that has ever existed. So, that's going to be a good time. But, yeah, 30 years of Jurassic Park, dear Lord. All right, on to number 3. This will be exceedingly short for a number 3 because I'm not going to get into either side of the conversation about it. But Donald Trump indicted. I only am covering it here because it is obviously big news to have a former president indicted for any specific reason. Last one was the hush money thing. This one is the disclosure of the federal documents. President brought up on federal charges. Has never happened before. So this is unprecedented, and I am intrigued, no matter the side of the aisle, to see how this goes and how this falls. I don't feel like the general public is going to take this very well, no matter what. But, again, non-politically, I just am very intrigued as to how that looks. But I record these, obviously, normally on Tuesdays. I try to not do them the day of, so I'm recording this on a Tuesday. He's supposed to go into court in Miami in an hour. So, I'll probably do some sort of follow-up next week just to kind of cover whatever happens today. But, you know, I guess we'll see. Again, not going to get political about it, not going to talk about anything in depth, but just figured one of the biggest pieces of world news should be mentioned right here on this show. And with that being said, we're going to get right on out of these pre-flight checks because I've had enough talking about them, and we're going to head right towards ignition.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, welcome back from the nifty little rocket launch video that we always run in that spot. And welcome into the main piece of the show. I mentioned in the intro that we were going to be talking about a holiday coming up this weekend, and that holiday, of course, is Father's Day. I did an in-depth dive on my mother during Mother's Day, and I'm going to likewise give the same attention to my dad for Father's Day. Tip of the hat, obviously, to all the dads out there. There are many awesome dads that I know in my life. My brother, obviously, being one of them. My brother Ron's an amazing dad. My best friend Ben, amazing dad. If I don't name all of you great dads out there, because those are the only two I'm naming, you're all great. Happy Father's Day. I hope everything is going good with you and your kiddos. I hope you get to do some cool stuff this weekend. Maybe throw some stuff on the grill, hit the lake, go camping, whatever. I hope you guys get to have the weekend that you deserve. Me personally, I'm a dad. I have a 4-year-old, and it's still one of those holidays that I forget that I actually need to pay attention to. Obviously I paid attention to it when I was a child. I still pay attention to it for my dad, but I never quite think like, oh, Father's Day's this weekend. I wonder if somebody's going to get me a card. It just never happens. It kind of sneaks up on me. To be honest, I forgot that Father's Day was even coming up until my older brother reached out about planning something with my dad. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, it is almost Father's Day. That's pretty crazy. So there we are, Father's Day. That is what we are going to talk about. So, my dad is originally from upstate New York. That's where my family is from altogether. Kind of sparsely throughout the Rochester metro area, if you will. They had property down at Port Bay, which is just outside of Wolcott and stuff like that. Sparse up throughout the Great Lake region of upstate New York. My dad, avid fisherman, so being up on the water was always his thing, right? He liked being out on a boat, doing fishing tournaments, stuff like that. He had a lot of friends that did it. His brothers were on the water, his sister on the water a lot. Their family is very to the lake oriented, if you will. Even in the trips that I've made out there in the last handful of years, the lake is a huge part of the trip. And to be honest, we've talked about moving there a handful of times. It kind of comes and it goes. The lake is always going to be one of those things that makes me and my family want to go. It's something we don't have here in Colorado. There's no Great Lakes out here. There's reservoirs. They're man-made. You can see across them. Whereas, Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, it's not the same. They're huge. They look very oceany if you're not aware. It's just that you can't see all the way across them. And when you do see the other side, if you're out on a boat or something, you're looking at Canada. So, yeah, vastly different. And that's one of those things that's always kind of strayed me towards wanting to live there at some point in my life, just to give my son the experience of actual water sports and stuff like that. It's beautiful up there. Obviously the physical state in New York and stuff like that has its own stuff, but New York is beautiful, and it's definitely home to my family, both on my mom's side and my dad's side. But my dad would be deeply involved in things like fishing tournaments all the time. My garage, I was just going through my garage the other day, is still full of fishing rods and boxes of tackle and lures and all sorts of nonsense. He collected all that stuff for years upon years. He met my mom. This is where it kind of gets... I obviously wasn't around, so I don't know what year he met my mom. But he met my mom It's one of my all-time favorite mom and dad stories. My mom told it to me because my dad, I think, still holds some secondhand embarrassment about it to this day. But my dad attempted to impersonate a police officer in a bar in upstate New York just to essentially ask her for her ID. So, back then it was harder to get a hold of people. Obviously, like, phone numbers and stuff aren't on IDs, but he just wanted to know where he could meet her, essentially, and not act like a police officer. So yeah, he tried to essentially get my mom's contact information by impersonating a cop, and she had to desperately hit the restroom and wasn't down to have that conversation with him in that moment. And that ended with her throwing her driver's license at him so that he would leave her alone. And here I am, so it obviously all worked out. I don't know. It's still one of my all-time favorite. Just imagining my dad throwing on a leather coat and being like, "Can I see your ID, ma'am?" Just hilarious. Just mwah, chef's kiss. Good decision, Dad. In 98, my mom went a little bonkers and decided to uproot and move the family west to Colorado. I have an aunt who was out here before that, who I definitely think, she helped us out a lot when we got here, helping us find a place to live. But I think her vision of the state and the quality of the state also encouraged my mom. Like I said in that video too, my mom was a John Denver fan, so nothing like Rocky Mountain High when you're thinking about moving out here. My dad did not want to. My dad had no desire to move out here. He had a good job. My dad's an auto mechanic, so he had a good job, and really had no thought of moving. And then just came home from work one day, and there was a for sale sign, and everything was packed, and it was kind of stay or go for him, and he decided to come. And here we are. Colorado. We've been here since '98, so we moved out here. I'm pretty sure it was July of '98. I would have been 2. I would have turned 3 that October. So I don't remember a whole lot from living in New York. What I know of New York at this point in time is things that I've heard or what I have witnessed in the 2 trips that I've taken there. I've spent just shy of a month in New York in the last 5 years. So, yeah, that was his home. It was our whole family's home, but they decided it was time for a change, and Dad tagged along, and here we are. Growing up, like I said, my dad was an auto mechanic. He's still an auto mechanic, but he worked for Burt Ford here in Colorado, and did that literally all the time. That's my dad. It's on the list like 6 times on the little talking point list that I made for this. My dad's work ethic is unparalleled. I don't know another person in my life, like in my physical life, with the work ethic of my dad. There are people who come close. I know plenty of people who don't take a ton of days off and stuff like that, but my dad doesn't take time off. I've said it in a previous video. I think that it's just a generational thing. His generation was taught that taking sick days and stuff like that made you weak, and you weren't providing and stuff like that. Where this generation, my generation, millennials, and the subsequent next generation, we don't feel that way. We've started, COVID kicked the door open for us to kind of value our health when it comes to employment. My dad does not care about any of that. My dad will work. I'm convinced my dad will work until the day he dies. He keeps talking about 65 retiring. I just don't think that that's real life. I think even if he retires from being an auto mechanic full time, he's going to find a part-time little job, or else he might just go stir crazy at home. So his work ethic is unparalleled. He doesn't take sick days. He doesn't play hooky. He doesn't stay home just because he wants to. He'll work throwing up. He'll work with the flu. He dropped a huge tire on his foot when I was a child, and he was in like a boot, and I think he literally did that. Bert had them work like I think Friday or Saturday was the end of their work week, but he did that like the last day of his work week, partway through the day. If I'm correct, he finished the work day, then went to a doctor. They booted him up. He took his 2 regular days off, and then went back to work with the boot on. And if I have to severely guess, completely against doctor's wishes, but that's what he did. So, his work ethic is unparalleled, and shamefully, mine is not the same. Like I said, it's definitely a generational gap, but I am under the flag of life is too short to spend every minute of every day at work, and especially when you have kids and a wife and stuff like that. I'd rather be home as much as I can be. I still obviously want to be out there making money, but it's hard to not be at home when you have family, and you're not going to live forever, man. So, jealous and a bit ashamed that I don't have that same drive. I think when I knuckle in, I can get into the ballpark. But my dad is the ultimate never stop working guy. And like I said, I think until the day that he goes into a box, I think that he is going to work his booty off up until then, no matter what it is that he's doing. During this time, we got our first real house. I was going to say big house, but that's only because when we moved here, we had like a little ranch house that we were renting, and then they bought like just a regular 2-story house or whatever. Still one of my favorite places on the planet. I've driven past it a handful of times just to get that little nostalgia feel. But that house just really kicked open a lot of doors for him. He was a yard work guy anyway. He loved having the garage to like tinker around in. But where my dad thrived the best was during the holidays. Between October and January, our house looked like an absolute runway for an airport. You could see us from space. There was so many lights on our house during that time frame. And obviously themed up, right? During Halloween, he would do a wicked graveyard. And I recall him taking the frame to like a waterbed that we were throwing away, and he cut the frame and he shaped it into a horse so that he could take his old work uniforms and stuff them with newspaper to make dummies. And he made like the Headless Horseman on a bed frame and an old work uniform, essentially. Just that kind of creativity for that. He is absolutely Christmas Vacation in real life. There's no doubt about it. And that is something that has bled into me absolutely aggressively. I hate taking Christmas lights down. I love putting them up, hate taking them down. And that's just because for me, it's an art form. Because my dad, every year was different. Things were never in the exact same place. In our house, my dad had to have an electrician come to specifically wire outdoor outlets only for Christmas decorations. Not for lawn work, but mostly for Christmas decorations and stuff like that. One of my favorite, I was actually talking to my dad about this the other day, one of my favorite decoration-based stories is we had a huge pine tree right on the corner. We were in a cul-de-sac, and we were the corner house. We had a pine tree, and one year we put like a bunch of like dummies like next to the tree, just like looking like pirates all dead in the tree or whatever. And we had a group of kids steal one of them one night and put it out into the middle of our the main road that was right by our house. And people were like calling the police because they thought that there was a body there, but really it was our stuffed decoration. And when we picked it up, the cops were just like, wow. People thought that was a body, and it had literally it was like a old mechanic's uniform with a pumpkin head or something like that. Just ridiculous. But it's one of my favorite. I can remember driving down the road that night and just the headlights catching it. My grandmother worked in a nursing home, so she had to work the night shift. And, I just remember seeing it and being like, oh, wow, that's crazy. But, like I said, subsequently, decorating is a part of my blood now for the holidays. It's most definitely a part of my brother's blood. He goes absolutely bonkers every year. He's been on the news in Denver a million times now for lights. He's won lighting contests in Highlands Ranch. Just a lot of stuff like that. Millions and millions of lights on his house. Inflatables everywhere. Star Wars themed. He's done zoo themed. He's done a bunch of different stuff. Like I said, we all get that from my dad, who every single year would take a notebook, just draw the yard. Be like, this is where this inflatable's going. This is where the candy canes are going. This is what's going on the flagpole. This is what's going on the roof. This is all sorts of. He is absolutely, like I said, 100% Christmas Vacation. That is who he is. and it is one of my favorite traits about him. And like I said, it's something I'm proud to be obsessed with. Even in July, occasionally you'll hear me listening to Christmas music. It's just in my blood. When I feel that bad day coming on, it's just good to throw on some feel good music and think about how nice the holidays are. And like I said, I love that for myself, and I love that for my child, who subsequently will end up hopefully being obsessed with the holidays and with decorating as well. After a decent chunk of time here in Colorado, my parents split. I was in probably middle school at the time, 7th or 8th grade, something in there. My mom got sick my freshman year and stuff like that. But after my parents split, my dad, again, this will tap right back to work ethic. My dad went and got a night job. So my dad worked as a mechanic, in the afternoon, and then he went and got a night job doing dishes at a local restaurant. My dad subsequently also got laid off the first year that my parents were separated. We had just gotten our first apartment. We got laid off, and then just kind of sat at home and collected his unemployment for a little bit, which is probably the laziest I've ever seen my dad, and that's well earned. That's already 30 plus years of never stopping working. So he finally gave himself a break, and he hit the pool for a summer, and then he went right back in. And like I said, essentially worked 2 jobs for a very long time. I was still a kid, so I couldn't do a whole lot. But, my dad, like I said, worked as a mechanic during the day, and then did dishes and kind of started cooking for this little dive restaurant around the corner from our apartment. And he did that for a long time until that restaurant went out of business on New Year's Day, like the following year. But he made a lot of good friends there. We still talk to some of them every now and then. And, like I said, it's all just another notch in the pole of how his work ethic is and how he just never stops. He never stops. It just never goes away. Not that long ago, I'm pretty sure it was 2019, we made our first run back to New York. For him, it was the first run in over 20 years. Our family was never big on vacations. We didn't travel a lot. Like I said, my dad didn't take a whole ton of time off. We were never rich by any stretch of the imagination. We got by. But he never went back. And so for me, especially right after having my child, it was a big deal to go and not only give JJ his very first glimpse into, what our home really is, for that matter, but to give my dad an opportunity to see his family and to see his mom, and stuff like, he missed his dad passing away because we just didn't have the money to get out and to go home. But it was really important for me to get him back and get him to the Bay. And that was, still one of my all-time favorite trips. And like I said, we've made a second trip since then. And hopefully this will become kind of a every other year thing. Unless maybe eventually in life, maybe we decide to actually head that way and move out there. Like I said, it's hit the table every now and then over the last handful of years. But for me, it's one of those we'll see what happens as time goes on kind of situations. But like I said, for me, it was just important for him to be able to go and to see his family and to have that experience again. And just, those nostalgia moments. He got to drive us around and show us his favorite spots and places where he bought, his cars and his boats and where family lives. And we got to go, their family does a Christmas in July every year. So we got to go to Christmas in July. Just stuff like that. It's super nice it was nice to be able to experience that and to see my dad, acting like a kid. During our second trip out there, he was having some health issues on the way out. It just seemed like circulation based. His legs would swell up, and it just seemed really weird. He had a lot of mobility issues while we were actually visiting the second time. When we got him home, it was obviously priority number one to get him to a doctor in some way, shape, or form. My dad doesn't do doctors. Okay, my dad does not do doctors. Again, that's that work ethic thing. He knows that if he does it, he has to take time off and all that kind of stuff. He just doesn't go. And I think I share this too. Doctors seldom just tell you good news. it's very rare that you just go in and there's nothing wrong or nothing that needs to be attended to. So he just tries to avoid it at all costs. This is probably the best time that he could have gone, though. As we got him there, we did our, the testing that they thought that they needed to do. We found out that he had prostate cancer. It was very advanced. It could have been there for a very long time. The doctor that he has thinks that he probably could have gotten this cancer in his mid to late 40s, and he's in his early 60s now. Part of the game is obviously that cancer can be genetic, but we have nothing lineage-wise, at least for that specific type of cancer, and there's no environmental things that gave it to him. Chances are he just drew a really bad hand of cards on that one. But we got to it in time. Okay? Good news, right? So his numbers are all down now currently, and everything is looking a lot better than it had been for sure. But we definitely had a good 2-year scare of having to go to the doctor fairly constantly, and he had to take time off and stuff like that. But that's still, he still works at 100%. So yeah, he had to take some time to go to doctor's appointments, but on the days he wasn't, he still was going at 100%, even though doctors were telling him not to and stuff like that. Again, unquestionable is my dad's work ethic, and I hope that my son adopts that never give up work ethic, obviously with respects to his own health and his own body and his own well-being, but with the same I gotta do it, I gotta be successful, I gotta make it kind of attitude, because like I said, I know I've struggled with that in the past. Like I said, currently he's doing good. He's working right now. He's currently at work. The health is coming around. It looks like we're kind of, on a good path. So hopefully all things point to us staying on the right track, and I hope that we do for a very long time, because I want to be able to annoy him until he's at least 100, if at all possible. And he's definitely one of my son's heroes. My son doesn't ever want to be away from that guy. They have a ton of fun together, and I definitely don't want to have to deal with the day that that is no longer a thing. So, hopefully we just stay on this path for a very long time. I talked about, in my Mother's Day video, I talked about some of the things she enjoyed, so I'm going to talk about some of the things I know my dad enjoys right now. Music. My dad obviously grew up in the 70s and 80s, so 80s rock and 70s rock were always a big part of car rides with my dad. He listened to some country, some like George Strait and Garth Brooks, stuff like that, things that were big in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. But my dad's always been an REO Speedwagon guy. REO Speedwagon, Styx, 38 Special, things like that were always right up my dad's alley. My mom and dad's song was actually Can't Fight This Feeling by REO Speedwagon. It's one of their more known songs for sure. Still one of my favorite songs, and I know he struggles with it and stuff like that, but still an amazing song. Movies and TV. My dad will watch anything that has anything to do with cars. Overhauling, which is like a show about customizing cars. I know he's watched like West Coast Customs, and he used to watch American Chopper, stuff like that. Fast and Furious, he's always going to watch those. He's obviously super into like the comedies. I feel like he was watching like Bruce Almighty yesterday, which is still an absolutely great Jim Carrey movie. Growing up, he was always like, when I would watch movies with him, he was always watching things with like Steven Seagal or Jean-Claude Van Damme in them, like those just awful karate movies from the 80s, essentially, like Under Siege and stuff like that. Under Siege came to mind because it is my favorite out of all of the weird kung fu movies that he watched back in the day. But those are definitely things that I always grew up watching with him when he would actually watch. My dad is a New York Giants fan, so we watch plenty of football. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so subsequently, occasionally we get a household rivalry kicking off. So that's always fun. Hobbies. Like I said, my dad used to do fishing tournaments and stuff all the time. So when he can and when he wants to, and when his health is on the right track, he'll still hit, the little reservoirs out here and go fishing every now and then. Not probably with the frequency that he obviously did when he was younger and living on a huge lake, but he still loves fishing. Car models, like the little constructible car models that you can like paint and you glue them together and you make your own car essentially. I'm I actually do those every now and then as well. But my dad loves doing car models. We were actually just at Hobby Lobby yesterday looking at car models because he wants to get back into doing that. There's really good passages of time for him, and he knows so much about cars, and he takes so much time. I'll have to dig out some of his completed models and just and show everybody at some point. He does fine details on stuff like that better than almost anybody I've ever seen. So he loves doing stuff like that. And then outdoor stuff, he loves grilling. It's one of the reasons why I grill as much as I do. I love barbecuing and stuff like that, but definitely not as much as he does. And that goes back to watching like movies and TV. Anything with Guy Fieri on it, he watches. Guy Fieri has like 90 shows. Again, coming from somebody who has a culinary degree. Dear God, Guy, how many shows can you possibly have and none of them you cook in? Get on that. Let's fix that, right? As we kind of wrap this up, if I had to put a thing on, what the impact on future generations will be based on my dad, like I said, I think it's just going to be an undying sense of love. He loves his family, and he would give the shirt off his back at any time for anybody. Like I said, he's my son's best friend. So, my kid is going to grow up, no matter how long my dad is around, my kid is going to grow up with Papa being his hero for sure. And like I said, I think if anybody in my family in future generations, including myself, can adopt anything from my dad, it is just that never quit work ethic. Like I said, I think there's a limit to that. Just, understanding your own health and well-being is a huge thing. But just being able to knuckle in to provide the best possible life for yourself and your kids and for those around you, I think that's absolutely admirable, and I hope that my son especially picks up some of those traits the older that he gets, and as he starts to really discover real life. I think that's all I can really ask of that. Normally at this point I would do kind of a summary of the episode. These episodes, stuff like this, where they're a little bit more personal, are tough to just give summaries to. So instead of giving an actual summary, what I'm going to tell you guys to do is please give your dad a phone call if you're not near him for Father's Day. If you're near him, go pick him up, go get some lunch, go hit the lake, go barbecue in someone's backyard, go to a park, whatever. Spend some time with your dad. Appreciate your dad. Thank him for all the hard work. Hopefully everybody has an amazing holiday weekend. I know that I intend to, so hopefully everything stays on track. I know my family's talking about barbecuing this weekend, and hopefully the weather holds out long enough for us to succeed in that effort. As always, we're going to wrap this thing up with a quote of the day. The quote of the day is actually more of a song lyric, but it's going to be daddies don't just love their children every now and then. It's a love without end. Amen. It is from the George Strait song, Love Without End. Amen. I remember my brother giving my dad a Father's Day CD when I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure it was the last song on the disc. So it's to this day one of those songs that when it comes on, I obviously think of my dad, and I know that they do as well, my siblings. So that's going to wrap it up for the day, guys. Obviously just gave you the quote of the day. If you haven't yet, please feel free to run on over, on YouTube. Please subscribe. Hit that bell button so you know when we're doing more stuff. Like I said in last week's episode, I think there's going to be some really cool stuff happening as we kind of get towards the fall in work for developing some different things for the channel. And you can find out all about that if you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button, and then run on over to TikTok at Intraverse_Uncharted, Instagram at Intraverse_Uncharted13, and Facebook at Intraverse Uncharted. And as I start to solidify some of these things, you'll be able to find concrete information about them on all of those platforms. Thank you guys so very, very much, as always, for tuning into the show this week. I hope that you enjoy this episode. We got another fun episode planned for next week. And until next time, guys, I bid you to do more than simply exist and come with me into the Intraverse. Have a great rest of your week, guys.